Throughout the years, many storytellers have used a father-daughter dynamic to create a long-lasting effect on the audience's hearts. Movies like Gifted, We Bought a Zoo, and Southpaw have used this dynamic to create conflict and growth between the main characters through a journey of self-exploration. They do so in order for the character that plays the role of the father to learn what it means to care, protect, and become the better version of himself. Nevertheless, there are stories that use this dynamic with a different setup. One in which the father rejects the character that plays the role of the daughter as a coping mechanism that derives from terrifying experiences with love in the past. Two of the best examples of this are the movie Logan and the PS3 game The Last of Us. Both share many parallels and tropes, so let's explore how both stories use the same storytelling structure to transmit emotion to the viewers and create a compelling arc in their protagonists in which the role of the daughter serves a much larger purpose than they initially expected. Before we begin, let me just warn you that this video essay has strong spoilers for both Logan and The Last of Us. Following up is a quick recap about each of the stories. If you want to skip it, head to the minute mark shown on the screen. Now, let's get on with the video. Logan by James Mangold is a movie that starts with the main character Logan in a depressed state, one in which the years have gone by and finally took their toll on him. He has lost many friends that he considered family and now lives with his surrogate father, Charles Xavier. The Last of Us, albeit a video game, follows a similar structure as Logan. Joel, the protagonist, is someone in the range of his 50s. Tragedy arrives to him after he loses his daughter while holding her in his arms after a deadly epidemic lashed out. After this, Joel became someone who has done many terrible things to survive the post-apocalyptic world he lives in. He repressed his feelings in order to endure the world he lives in now, but most importantly, to stop feeling the pain that the loss of his daughter brought upon him. Logan and Joel both share the same old age and a toughen-up personality. Also, they are prone to violence and are expert in hiding their actual feelings. They share many things, but perhaps their most common trait is their inability to truly love somebody else and allow others to love them back. The concept of the lie your character believes is introduced by K.M. Weiland in her book Creating Character Arcs. As stated by her, the lie your character believes is the foundation for the protagonist's character arc, and it is what's wrong in his world. A good character arc, following this concept, needs to show the path for transformation in which the protagonist overcomes the lie he believes and learns to embrace the truth that opposes it. In order to overcome the lie, the character needs a challenger for it in the form of another character or the setting itself. For both of these stories' purposes, the daughter's role serves as a primary challenger to the protagonist's lie. But first, to understand the lie, we need to understand where it actually came from. Logan and Joel's lies are set up from tragic events in their past. Both had suffered the losses of loved ones. Logan, in one hand, suffered the loss of his X-Men family. And for Joel, it was his daughter Sarah and his partner Tess. Logan's lie, as stated by himself, is,
"Bad shit happens to people I care about."
For Joel, his lie is based on a coping mechanism in which the sole reminder of Sarah brings back haunting memories. He doesn't allow himself to love again because of this previous loss, so he shares Logan's lie. Love only leads to pain. The truth that they need to learn is none other than to embrace the love of family and allow themselves to feel again. For the lie to work from a storytelling perspective, it needs to be something that the audience can empathize with. The challenge in writing the lie in the story is to make the audience go on the same journey as the protagonist, to make them feel what he is feeling and help them immerse in their lives. In order to do this, the lie your character believes needs to be reinforced by the character's normal world. A character's normal world is the setup in which he lives, and its purpose is to feed the lie he believes. Logan's normal world is being responsible for the care of a fragile Charles Xavier, who at this point in his life is suffering from initial symptoms of dementia, which becomes dangerous when combined with his strong psychic abilities. Also, Logan works as a driver, a job that allows him not to bond with the people he works with since he meets people only for a brief period of time. Logan lives in an isolated home in the middle of the desert in Mexico, excluded from neighbors and society, a society in which mutants are almost extinct. Logan is also saving to buy his retirement in an isolated boat where he and Charles can spend the rest of their days, further isolating them from the world. So, you get where this is going, right? He surrounds himself with isolation to further distance himself emotionally and minimize the probability to meet somebody to care about. On the other hand, Joel lives in a post-apocalyptic world, where a disease is turning people into zombie-like creatures. A world where cities have collapsed, and it became a place where only the fittest survive. This environment needs people with colder emotions, so caring for somebody can only make survival a more difficult task. To both Joel and Logan, their normal world presents, arguably, a lack of future, and gives them no reason to look back to a previous time where they didn't believe in their lie. The lack of a future for Logan and Joel feeds their lie and builds their normal world stronger by the day. Joel lives in a place where a disease is ending human life as we know it, while Logan is placed in a world where mutants are no longer being born. This can only mean that the destruction of their world needs to develop from something bigger, an inciting event that breaks and challenges their lie in the most direct possible way. Due to the protagonist's nature and personality, only an inciting event that seems to strengthen the lie can penetrate their fixed mindset. In order for it to work, the protagonist needs to think that the inciting event is aligned with his lie. However, the truth is that the event will destroy their normal world. As defined by John Turby in Anatomy of a Story, an inciting event makes the protagonist think he has overcome the crisis in which he or she lives since the beginning, when in reality, this may be the worst trouble of his life. Only something as hyperbolic as this can revert the lie our character believes. Both Logan's and Joel's inciting event follow the same motif: the sudden opportunity to take a job that is perfect for somebody with their specific set of skills, and that will solve their imminent financial problems. Then, a refusal to take the job, and finally, a reluctant acceptance for the money. For more context about each of the events, let's start first with Logan. He is shadowed by a Mexican woman that begs him to help her, hinting at a dangerous task. She argues that it's something that the Wolverine is perfect for. Naturally, Logan refuses, since he has all his retirement plan set out. It's only when she offers the perfect amount of money to fulfill his retirement wishes that he reluctantly accepts to help. The job on paper looks simple: help a little but temperamental girl to cross the country and migrate to Canada in order for her to escape her captors. Similarly, Joel's job required him to use his abilities to safely smuggle a little but temperamental girl to the outside of a quarantine city. He initially refuses because smuggling a little girl is a completely different task than the weapons he is used to smuggling. Also, the refusal also comes because this little girl called Ellie reminded him of his long-lost daughter, which you can immediately see through Joel's reaction as he takes a look at his old watch, Sarah's last gift to him. Following the setups of the inciting incidents of both Logan and The Last of Us, the plan needs to fail and break loose. For Logan, this happens with the sudden death of the Mexican woman, where he discovers that the antagonist's intentions are darker than he expected. He quickly flees the scene, trying to avoid any ties with the conflict. It is then revealed that Laura, the girl he was supposed to protect, was hidden inside the trunk of his car. This creates conflict in Logan's mind because he wants nothing to do with it, but at the same time is being forced by the circumstances to help her. This thought is further strengthened by Charles, and the reveal that Laura is indeed a mutant, the female version of Wolverine. Ultimately, they are all forced to flee as Logan and Charles' home is thrashed. This setup serves as a powerful inciting event that forces our hero to start his path of redemption, even if he doesn't know it yet. Joel's inciting incident also comes from a job gone wrong. The people that were supposed to take Ellie with them after the smuggle ended weren't actually there, so Joel and Tess needed to improvise. After this, they discovered that the military was searching for them after their escape from the city. Tess convinces Joel to take care of Ellie, as she is the only person in the world that has developed an immunity to the cordyceps virus. Tess urges him to take an extra step on the job and make an attempt to save the human race. She uses her dying wish, as Charles did with Logan, to make Joel accept the girl and take care of her while delivering her to her final destination. Both Logan and Joel get their normal world obliterated by events detonated by a girl that challenges the lie they believe in the most direct possible way. Their circumstances leave them with no choice but to embark a journey that will serve as the biggest test they have ever taken on physically, but even more so emotionally. In turn, the destruction of their normal world in the first act of the story forces a struggling father-daughter dynamic that feels relatable and compelling at the same time. I just wanted to ask you really quick to please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have liked this video so far. It would also really mean the world to us at the epilogue. Well, now that I got that out, let's move on. Human relationships are hard. It is no mystery people struggle to bond with a new person that enters his or her life. It becomes even harder when you have experienced difficulties and tragedies in the past that involve your close ones. Additionally, some personalities, especially introverted ones, can have even a more difficult time with this. This struggle becomes relatable for the audience when they identify themselves with the character. This is achieved when they feel that it's possible for a character to live something similar as them, at least emotionally. Or likewise, they can relate and have felt the same struggle to bond because of previous fears or events. This can come in the form of a bad breakup, a loss, a backstab, etc. This relatable event can have even happened to another close one, or even no one they know of, and still feel empathy. Why? Because people tend to have strong empathy traits. It's hardwired in our brains. This feeling cannot tell the difference if it perceives an emotion from a picture, a movie, or a real person. To our brains, it is all the same. It's essential for a movie to have the ability to show and transmit emotions that our protagonists are feeling, so that the audience low channel of emotion, the subconscious one, can read and mirror those emotions. Now, in order to emotionally attach the audience to a story and its characters, you need to show the character struggling and being hesitant to feel the emotions he's actually living. How? By showing bits in where his true self emerges, and then hide it right back. This slow cycle progresses until it finally achieves its goal, the moment where the character eradicates the lie and embraces the truth. During each of their stories, Logan and Joel show perfectly the subtle cues that hint that they are starting to really care for Laura and Ellie respectively, but keep on rejecting them with their arrogance to scare them off. Laura and Ellie serve an important role in the story. Both girls are initially described as someone that needs to be taken care of. This is true for the most part of the story, but ultimately, their role is slowly reversed. The daughters slowly start maturing and eventually become their father's emotional saviors. Throughout the story, our protagonists keep making on an effort to complete their journeys while saving their surrogate daughters from harm's way, as the girls also start learning the ways of the world and slowly becoming more able to defend themselves on their own. There is even a moment in both stories where the daughter rescues and cares for a severely injured father. Logan almost lost his life defending Laura, Charles, and the family in the farm, while Joel got impaled while defending Ellie at the university. Both characters actually come close to death in their stories, but thankfully, it was the work in progress of the love from their daughters that saved them. as both girls took care of them during the recovery. These incidents are essential for building their relationship, but more importantly, it illuminates the protagonists. During these moments, the father figure in both of them reflects on the conflict between the truth and their lie. They reassess their feelings and then get to see that the picture in their heads was completely off from reality. The fact was that the ones that needed the most help to survive were actually them and not their surrogate daughters. One key aspect of close human relationships is the ability to express and accept each other's vulnerabilities and emotions. Laura, but especially Ellie, make a great job at this. Laura does so by believing with her innocence about all the great story about his father and trying to comfort Logan after Charles's funeral, and obviously taking care of him as we previously said. Ellie does so by slowly looking up to Joel, treating him as the father she never had, but also confronting him on his lies about his feelings. All of these start breaking the walls inside Logan's and Joel's heart. The tough thing is that the struggle for both is very real and hard to overcome. Their lives put to test with this type of behavior, making them feel more conflicted. In their minds, opening up will lead only to the bad side of love, the side that leads to loss and overwhelming sadness. There is a moment, past the half of the story, where a confrontation is needed. In here, during the argument, the protagonist expresses his lie out loud to the daughter figure. This moment, for both these stories, happened closely before and after the severe injuries of the father figure, which helped solidify their train of thought. Laura and Ellie's main achievement is the way they confronted Logan and Joel with their lies.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time. Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel. But I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
This needs to be an emotionally packed scene that puts the protagonist in his low and emotional state during the story. It creates discord between the father and the daughter, and it will become something of significant value in the future. It is this moment when the hero faces the lie first-handedly. Also, this is the moment he has to decide between living hidden inside of a self-consuming lie that isolates him from human connections, or to embrace the truth and learn how to love again with the possibility of a second chance at family. Their surrogate children are better persons than they could ever hope to be. Both Logan and Joel become better persons through fatherhood by learning from their surrogate children. This is the actual story from both Logan and The Last of Us, the story of a man that becomes a better person by learning from their daughters. They taught them the key life lessons to not only become somebody they never thought they could be, but learn to become a real father figure.
No matter what, you keep finding something to fight for.
Joel's and Logan's arcs complete emotionally in the same way, but with a completely different outcome in the story. Both decide to save their loved one so that she can have a future. Remember when we talked about the lack of future in their lives? Well, here's where it all comes full circle. The difference is that in Logan, he gives his life to save her. With this sacrifice, he allows her the chance of a new beginning with the New Mutants. In his final moments, Logan truly feels and expresses the love he repressed for so many years. As he shares his last moments confessing his feelings to Laura as they hold hands, the audience and the characters feel the cathartic release of its climax.
Oh, this is what it feels like.
On the other hand, Joel learns that in order to harvest the cure, Ellie needed to die. Joel becomes a true anti-hero and proceeds to save Ellie, as he selfishly dooms humanity by depriving them of the cure. he couldn't possibly deal with the loss of his now daughter Ellie. He couldn't stand to go through it again. Joel couldn't let the lie he believed became his truth once more with the loss of a second daughter. Even though the decision comes from purely selfish intentions, it's logically congruent with Joel's character. Also, saving Ellie becomes a completely compelling decision for an audience that has taken the role of Joel for more than 15 hours of gameplay. With The Last of Us, the player truly develops the same feelings for Ellie as Joel did. And if you have played it, you know what I'm talking about. You want to save her and invest yourself in doing so during the gameplay. The fact that the writers achieved this level of immersion only reinforces the argument about how strongly compelling a father-daughter dynamic can be. In conclusion, the father-daughter dynamic becomes a compelling storytelling trope when executed in favor of character development. When executed right, this dynamic will touch the audience's hearts in a way few other storytelling tropes can. The purity behind the emotions and intentions that this dynamic generates is unparalleled. The surrounding conflict of transporting the daughter from point A to B, as in both of these stories, is in fact just a necessity for creating a new environment for the emotional story that the writers are trying to tell. Being chased by an antagonist is just a side plot to tell the actual story. The protagonist is actually his own antagonist by immersing himself in the lie. The true story lies inside the relationship between the characters with the role of the father and the daughter. This is the beauty of a character-driven story. By writing a character-driven story, the writers put the adventure of going from place A to place B on the back burner, because the purpose of the story is to show how the protagonist grows with the help of the character of the daughter. She needs to challenge his beliefs, and sometimes only someone as emotionally close as a daughter can break the strongest barriers. Only then can the father finally embrace the truth he never thought he could be able to live by. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Also, be sure to check out our social media, our site, and the other videos in our channel.